In order to find out how many items there are in the array, we can use the count function. So in php.net search bar, we are going to type count. And if we click on the first item, there we go, specification for this specific function. Count all elements in an array or something in an object. Objects aren't part of this course, so obviously don't worry about this too much, but arrays are. So let's have a look at a little bit lower down the page. We've got our count function, which will return an integer. It's mixed array or countable, and then we can provide the optional second parameter, which is going to be count normal, or if we scroll down here, count recursive. Count normal is the default mode for this function. Counts all elements in an array or something in an object. For objects, don't worry about it, so we're just going to ignore this sentence for now because we're not working with the objects. Please see the array section of the manual for a detailed explanation of how arrays are implemented and used in PHP. We already know because obviously we're working with arrays. So if we go for the parameters, the first parameter is either array or countable object. Don't worry again about the objects, we're only interested in the array. Then we have mode. If the optional mode parameter is set to count recursive or 1, count will recursively count the array. This is particularly useful for counting all the elements of a multi-dimensional array. Let's quickly have a look at how it actually works. If we go back to our editor, we have this a sort here. We want to now return how many items in this array there are. So if we simply echo and now count function, we pass our argument as our array as the first argument, and we can actually comment this echo with the pre-tags here because we don't really need to know what's inside of this array. We only want to know how many items there are. And obviously we know that there are 5 items, but let's save it and go back to our browser, refresh the page, and there we go. We've got 5 items inside of our array. But let's now go back to our editor and let's provide this second parameter as count underscore recursive. And obviously nothing's gonna change if we save and preview everything in the browser because we haven't got recursive array. And by recursive, what we mean, if we go back to our editor, we mean that if, let's say, one of these items, let's specify this last one, let's override this polish, and we're going to create another array here, because as you know, we can assign arrays to the indexes inside of the array, so we can create as many recursive arrays as we want. And let's here specify, let's say, en again, let's put English, and then we're going to have fr French. And that's going to be enough just for the sake of this example. So how many items do you think we're going to return now? Because we're saying strictly that we want to count the items recursively, that means this item is the first one, second, third, fourth, then this one is fifth, and then what's going to happen? PHP is going to go inside of this array and count these items as well. If one of these items, let's create another one, for instance, DE, and then we're going to create another array. And don't forget, we can obviously use square brackets if you are using PHP version 5.4 or higher. So let's, for this specific example here, use the square brackets just to show you that it's going to work obviously as well. DE, and now we are going to put something else. Let's put 0, index is going to be 1 to 5 number, and then we have 1 index, we're going to have 800, and then 22 index, let's say 900. As you can see, we've got mixed values obviously and indexes. So now let's save it and preview everything in a browser, and if we refresh the page, we have 11 items in this specific array. And now let's go back to our editor and start counting and see if it actually works. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as this first array, and then we've got 6, 7, 8, and then we go inside of this 8th item, 9, 10, 11. Seems like it's working. So basically this count recursive is going to make sure that it counts all of the basically embedded arrays as well. So basically recursively going through all of the arrays and counting all of these items. If we remove this flag and we're just using the default one, if we save the page, go back to our browser, refresh, it's only going to take the first 5 items, obviously the languages one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's going to ignore any further basically arrays which may be associated with the indexes in this array. So that's the count function, how we can actually find out how many items there are in a given array.